Well, today is countertop day, and in the next video, we're going to show you how to install brand new concrete countertops. That's right, we're not doing Formica, we're not doing granite, we're not doing quartz. Today we're doing concrete, and we're doing a mold to pour it in place. I've never done this before, so we're both going to learn together. So recently in the building industry, we have come across this brand new concept of doing concrete countertops in the kitchen. So I've seen it in tables in the living room, I've seen it in other aspects, but to do it in the kitchen, it's a little bit trickier because you have to keep them dead level, they've got to be sealed with food grade quality, and it's been a little bit of a trick to find a supplier that one, has the right concrete product, and then two, has the right sealer. And so we've been holding off a little bit until everybody's done all their experiments and someone's actually come up with a proven formula. And so now we've got this awesome product on the market. We have a combination of a company that makes great forms and a company that makes a good concrete and a great sealer. And so now that we have all of these elements together, we're comfortable doing a mold to make the countertops in place. Up till now, you've seen the videos, you had to get the melamine and you had to make your own forms and you'd make all the countertops upside down. You have to flip them over and wet sand and blah, blah, blah. Incredible amount of work. Now that also comes with a lot of flexibility, but if all you're looking for is a simple concrete, then this is the way to do it. This is Z-Top. It's a company that I found online. Okay, it's just a form, and the idea is you would attach this to the edge of your concrete substructure, and then after you're done with your cement fiber board, you fill it up, and when it's dry, you can break this. It has a weak spot in the form right here on the bottom corner. And so this plastic mold edge actually tears off afterwards, and you're left with a beautiful contoured concrete design. So before we can get to installing that, let's talk substructure, because if we're going to be pouring concrete, you want to have something that's going to be strong enough, first of all, to carry all the weight. It's about 80 pounds a square foot of weight you're going to be transferring. So if you have a large cabinet base, you might find it necessary to actually put some plywood down first and then laminate your concrete board to that. Now this is a Hardy Backer cement fiber board. It's brilliant, it's 1/2 inch thick, very rigid. And with their cabinet design, it'll be more than strong enough. So for me, the first step is to make sure that this is as tight to the wall as I can possibly make it. So I actually have to scribe this in. Remember, nothing's ever perfectly straight or square, especially when you've got tape joints and outside corner beads involved. So what you want to do is you want to lay this up into the corner. So in this countertop kit, we have a front mold and then we have a back mold. And this goes on the back and it'll get screwed down and it'll close up any gap that's inconsistent back there. And then when I do my tile backsplash, the little thin black edge back here will disappear and you'll never see it. So this just goes right in, and so the back of this wall is going to be nice and sealed, but the side is going to be a problem. Well, I have a choice. If I put this on the side, I can cut that as well, but then I also have to tile that wall. And in our design in this house, we don't have any tile on that side of the wall. So what I have to do is scribe it. Now scribing can be simple. I have lots of material here. So I just hold my marker like this, and I just set my finger against the wall and I just pull it forward. Whatever the contour of that wall is, now that's translated onto my cement board. So now I can go outside and cut it and slide it right up against the wall nice and tight, and then we'll take care of finishing off all of our other measurements so we can cut this exactly where we need it. Check our scribe. There we go. Oh, nice and tight. Perfect. So our next thing we have to do, take a black marker. I use black marker because sometimes I find pencil on cement board. A, you run your pencil dry real quick. And B, sometimes it's not as easy to see, especially if you're outside in the sunlight cutting. Run your marker along the lead edge here. Oh. And just mark where your countertop goes. And over here, now that you've got scribed, same with the other side. Okay, so I'm just going to flip this over now. gonna take my straight edge. I'm just gonna finish connecting all my dots. Now, in our kitchen design, we're gonna have our stove here. My stove, I need a 30-inch hole. Traditionally, they're 29 7/8 wide. And so since we used our laser level to line up our lines vertical and horizontal here, both of these cabinets are level and in the right position, and the gap in the back and the gap in the front is exactly the same. Now, this particular kitchen that we're using has end gables that go in after the floor, which arrives tomorrow. So we have to add the gap for that, and then make sure that we've installed these cabinets so that we have a perfect 30-inch hole. So I have a 3/4 inch gap on the other side of this cabinet. I'm gonna add that over here. And that leaves me exactly 30 1/8. Nothing wrong with having an 1/8. I'm gonna measure off another 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm gonna cut. So there. And because it's really difficult to measure using the end of a tape, I'll put it on the 2-inch mark and then measure over there to my 3/4. Now I'll take my straight edge. And there's my new cut line. Okay, now we go inside. So we'll just slide this in. Perfect. Now, for some of you who are already one step ahead of me are wondering, what about the overhang of your counter? You need something to cover the drawer plus a little bit. That's where the mold comes in. It's actually 1.5 inches. So when it goes on, it extends the counter a nice 3/4 of an inch past the drawer. Okay, so now we got our pieces all cut. We've got our countertop cut and fit flush to the front. And this track here, once it's installed, provides us the overhang that'll cover our doors and drawers. And so that's perfect. And the one in the back will cover up all the gaps. Of course, we scribed right to the wall. And we have our overhang that we've got designed for fit flush to our stove. Maybe, before we go any further, just double check. Now that is perfect. That's a 30 and a 16th. So now we're back. We got everything cut and ready to go. We got our cement fiber board back cut perfectly. We've checked our measurement for our stove and used our square. Everything's gonna be perfect there. So now it's just a matter of attaching these to our cement board and attaching the cement board to the cabinets all at the same time. We're using the cement board screw, okay? These things are, I don't know, 1.25 inches. And we're just gonna drill right through. It puts up a little bit of a fight, but you'll get used to it. And you can see that we're actually screwing the mold to the fiberboard and then into the cabinet. And the screw doesn't actually come out the other side. So this all works really perfect. Well, yeah, I mean, if you do end up going out and buy a cement screw that's longer than 1.25 inches, I don't know if they even exist on the market, but if you do, you run the risk of it poking out the other side. When you're reaching into your counter, into the drawer, for instance, you could run the back of your hand off of a screw. That would be really unpleasant. Don't fall into the trap and buy yourself 1/4 inch cement board. It's not going to be strong enough, and it's not the right thickness. This mold situation with cabinets, if you got something thinner, you'd have to block up the countertop first and create an additional layer of strength. That's a whole lot of work. It's not worth your time and energy. Buy the 1/2 inch, and then this all works right away. So what I've done is I've just put together a quick box frame, and I've screwed this together on an angle so that after the cement is cured, I can remove the screws, pop out the blocking, and remove the wood really easy without risk chipping anything up. And what I'm trying to do here is create an end form that goes against the stove area that closes up the whole contour of this front nosing. But from the perspective of where the stove goes in, I just wanted to stop. I don't want to have to use any of this contoured stuff. It just seems like a whole lot of extra work and a whole lot of extra material that you have to buy. What I'm trying to do now, set this up so everything is nice and level across the back. Marked in advance where my studs were in the wall. This just makes my life a little bit easier. Okay, so I've taken this box that I've built, put my screws on the end. It's just a quick little frame to hold the concrete from going over the edge and create a nice straight edge up against the stove. Marked in advance where my frame is in the wall, and I'm placing my frame higher than it needs to be. Because this is not a straight edge, because it's a 2x4, if I try to go flush, I'm going to end up with an extra bit of contour. I'm going to have to sand back afterwards anyway, and I don't want that. So now I'm just going to take these here, a couple of temporary supports, and I'm going to screw all this together. Make sure that my gap is closed top and bottom. Whew, now we're ready to pour some cement. Always make sure you vacuum out, especially along your forms. This is the product we're using from Quikrete. It's a countertop mix, and you can see in the picture, you just pour it out of a pail. In the diagram on this bag, actually, they've got a little metal mesh or something there. That's not necessary if you go with the cement fiberboard instead. They'll bond together just fine, and the trick to that is going to be, before we put the cement in, we're going to take our sponge and we're going to wet the fiberboard. That'll get a nice bond. Like with any product, before you mix it, read the instructions. This is an 80-pound bag, which is a little bigger than usual. So just want to double check. It should have the exact measurements on here. Blah, 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 blah. Mixing instructions. Here we go. Somewhere between 3.8 and 4 liters of water per whole bag. There usually is a chart on the bag as well. It tells you how many bags you need for a certain amount of square footage. So this chart is a little ridiculous because it's very vague, but I've got lots, so we'll just get started. All right. So these 80-pound bags require a pretty sizable container to mix in. But if you read the instructions, it said between 3.7 and 4.2 liters of water. That's a give or take, folks. We're looking for the right kind of flowability here. Generally speaking, if you do a half a bag at a time, you're going to get about the same kind of consistency. So just want to mix this a little bit wetter than you need to. We'll get the half a bag in there. We're just using a regular cement mixing paddle, and of course my trusty drill. That's had the living tar beat out of it, but it keeps on going. All right. We only have about a 30-minute working time, so we don't want to spend too much time fooling around here. Zero flowability on that. Again, when you're adding water and mixing concrete, it's a lot like pancake batter. You put in a little bit and everything goes real soft, so be careful. Don't go crazy. A good tip to get rid of your lumps. Your blade is spinning clockwise, move your blade counterclockwise, then you'll catch everything in the act. Well, that looks like it's flowing pretty good. There we go. Before we begin, quick wet with the sponge. This particular product sets up pretty quick. When they mentioned 30 minutes on the bag, they weren't kidding. So what you want to do is layer it in. Okay, use your cement trowel. Layer this in. Work it into there. You kind of get a feeling for how much cement you're going to need to finish the job just by working with this. Looks like this area here, it's 8 square feet. Looks like it's going to need about 1.5 bags. So when you're working on layering your concrete, it's probably best to do a little bit of vibrating, get some of the air pockets out before you do the final coat. That way you don't have too much air trying to escape into your final coat when you put your last layer on. And you can use a vibration tool like a square edge sander like I've seen on other videos, or rubber mallet, but because I'm working with concrete board, just a finishing hammer. This is actually my little stiletto tool. That's fine, just get underneath and tap along. You'll see air bubbles here. It's helping all the air to escape. Now, when you're mixing this, it's like the constant battle of mixing it easy, flowability, versus how much air you're going to have to contend with. Okay? So this is the ultimate question. The more water you mix with, the more air you've got to contend with. So if you like to have it flow easy, use lots of water. And if you like, you're going to have to do a lot of vibration work. This stuff is self-leveling, so it does a lot of the work for you. Beautiful thing about this self-leveling, you get near the top, all you gotta do is make sure it doesn't overflow the bank. I have prepared my 30-inch level, cleaned the bottom and sanded it so that I can screed this. So if I have too much, I know how much to take out. So once again, now we've got it all screeded. Want to head around, vibrate for some air pockets, and try to get this nice and smooth. Oh, that's pretty much it for the messy part. I'm just going to hang around here for another half an hour or so and continue to do a little bit more vibration while this sets up. Next step is going to be let it sit overnight and come back at it tomorrow. So we'll see you then. All right, well, it has been about 3 days since we poured this part of the top, and you can tell it's nice and light gray now. It's going to be really gorgeous. Remember how I talked about this edging here, how it just snaps off? Let's see if we can get a... There you go. And that exposes your concrete. Now look at that, that is beautiful. Now this edging here, this might be really sharp. So be careful, we're gonna wanna sand this back before we get too far ahead of ourselves. But there we go, you can see there's some pitting. No matter how much of that tapping you do, you're always gonna have air holes pop up. So we're gonna show you a little bit later in the video about the process for grinding and sanding this down. But basically it's really simple. We take a cup grinder, it's a diamond blade that goes on your grinding wheel, and you just run it over the surface. It takes down all these thick ridges and all the air bubble bumps, and then we'll make up a slurry, which is just a wet mix of the same concrete. Don't want to be changing the color. And then we're going to just use our hands to force all that back into the holes, and when that's dry we can come back with a light sanding, just a palm sander, and then we're ready to seal. But over the last 3 days, we've had our island installed. These cabinets came, and that is brilliant. So while I was waiting for Max today, I did the template for the countertop, and now we have all of our cement fiberboard cut. This is actually 2 and a little bit sheets. Again, this is just to contain all of the cement. And we have this beautiful sink by Blanco here. And this one comes with this cutout. Now here's where you got to get creative. This cutout is designed for cutting a hole in a countertop that'll sit up to this edge here, okay? Up to this edge. So this is an undermount sink. So this is going to be exposing a little bit of that round edge. This is a little too small for our application because what I need to do is I need to cut a hole in this counter that's this size plus the thickness of the wall of that material. So what I did is I used this originally and then I just added an extra 1/8 all the way around, and you can tell that's a perfect fit. Okay, now because this cabinet is 36 and this sink is 33, the cabinet walls, the gable ends, are within 1 inch or so of the end of this sink. So most of this weight is going to be transferred from the sink right into the gable ends of the cabinet, which is perfectly ideal. However, because people have always had this propensity to put a lot of weight right here on this area, what I want to do is a little something special for this particular counter to add some extra strength. We also have a dishwasher here, and that's a huge span with nothing in there for support, and then another cabinet. And so there's a lot of different moving parts here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some rebar. Now, when you buy your quikrete countertop cement, on the picture it shows some metal bars for structural support. And that would hold true if you were using a really soft underlay. But with the cement board, you don't need that. But in this case, we're not going to take a chance. You can see here we've extended our countertop past traditional depth. This is a bit of an overhang so that people can have a few seats here. And so what we want to do is frame this up with rebar to maximize the strength so we don't run the risk of having any accidents. So having that in mind, I've got a 4-foot countertop section. I'm adding in some 4-foot rebar. And this is going to go right on the gable end of that cabinet. And this is my 3-foot. I'm going to put one across the sink, front and back. Okay, and I'm just really laying that in there where the cabinet is. Nothing too special about that. And then a bunch of 2-footers. And we're going to just go across them like this and have them extend over the eating area. I'm going to have it come out into the dishwasher. So the dishwasher is here and here. That'll give a whole area some nice strength. And we'll put another one over here. There we go. Okay. I think I'm going to do another one here because I've got a cut joint and I want to kind of seam that together like a stitch. And then one more here just to give some strength in the middle of that cabinet. We'll save the rest of these bars. We're going to add some over there in that window area. So for now, this is good. I'm excited about this. I think it's going to work out great. Now, for those of you who might be a little bit familiar with these custom form countertops, this comes in an 8-foot piece, and this is designed for the sink. And what it does is it actually has an adhesive strip, okay? And you're supposed to put this up against your sink to the height of your molds. And so then when you pour your concrete, you know, you have a nice finished edge. Well, we're going to show you that on the camera real quick. We're not going to, these aren't the actual molds here. This is just for demonstration purposes. All right, so to save you guys time at home today so you don't have to watch another 2 hours of video, we're going to just do a quick demonstration to show you how this all works. I probably would be fine with a 3-foot level here, but you get the idea, all right? So now that you have your molds in place, you can take this adhesive strip, lift it up to your level, and then attach it to your wall, all right? And you would just run that around and make sure it's exactly where you want it. Then your finished countertop is going to be all nice and level, and it is going to look like $1 million. Now, when I bought this mold, I bought the half mold kit, which is just enough for my job. I thought I had bought the little, it's basically like a little stem, a rubber stem that comes through the hole that you drill for your faucet. I thought I bought it. I guess I didn't. Anyway, so when I was at the hardware store picking up the rebar, I saw this in the concrete section. I think it's just a little cap to put on the end of a bar. I'm going to actually drill a hole and I'm going to stick this up through the hole from underneath and wedge in a piece of 2x4, and that'll hold that in place. And that'll guarantee I have a nice hole there for putting my faucet in. Great little trick. This is like $3 just in case you get stuck like I did. All right, so that covers pretty much every technique you're gonna need. We'll show the cupping and grinding a little bit later on in the video. And quick little shout out to Lowe's because these folks saved my bacon today. I went to my traditional supplier to get my concrete countertop mix and they were out. So I had to call around, did a quick search on the web. Sure enough, these guys got that stuff in stock by the skid. So if you're looking to do a concrete countertop job, one-stop shopping, hit the Lowe's, get your cement, get your rebar. And this stuff here is epoxy coated, all right? Make sure you get that. Don't just get the other one or it'll start rusting and those colors will end up coming through your concrete. All right, so I'm gonna get back to work and finish pouring on my concrete. I'm actually back in about 3 days. Give this lots of time to dry. And we'll pull off all of the edges and then we'll show you how to do the cupping and the slurry and the sanding. All right, so it has been a couple of days since we put all of our countertops down. You can see in the back we started tiling. If you haven't seen that video, check it out, all right? This stuff here is interesting. We're using the countertop mix from Quikrete, available at your local building store. I believe it's Lowe's that carries this product. So if you're looking at a Home Depot, I think you're gonna be disappointed because they don't carry the Quikrete line. Anyway, we had an issue because after all of this was done, we found that this one area here had a bit of a sag to it. It just didn't fill the same. The product sets so fast that you really gotta be on your A game. It's probably best to have 2 people doing this, one mixing and one working, okay? If you're doing it all by yourself, you gotta go in layers. And in this particular case, we didn't get the layer filled just the way we wanted to. And there was so much detail and work trying to control the cement around the sink. We found that the product that we were using for the form for the sink just wasn't up to the task because it's such a square edge. So it was a little disappointing there. That was kind of frustrating. And now I've got some repair work to do. And I've already done a little bit of it. I had some fill up in here and I had a big air bubble over here I had to fill. So what I've used is I just went and grabbed some of this fast concrete repair, okay? Now, I tried to repair this using the same concrete countertop mix. But you can see I've done some grinding and sanding here, and you'll see that there are little aggregates in this mix, okay, that make it impossible to do a fill coat. This was just way too thick. It's not something you can trowel and work with. It's designed to flow and fill, and that's it. So I was against my better judgment to mix products because I wasn't sure how that was going to finish with the sealer, but I have no choice. I can't leave this huge gap. So we're going to use the fast setting concrete here, and hopefully it's not going to show too bad, but I don't have a choice. So like I said, this sets up in just a couple of minutes. You want to be really careful when you're mixing this not to put in too much water, okay? And at the same time, don't be so careful that it takes you forever to get this mix made because it'll finish setting up before you're done mixing it. So work in small amounts. There we go, we're getting a bit more of a soup now, okay. So if you put too much water in your mix, that's fine. Just be patient. You wanna have the area where you're gonna be patching nice and wet, okay? Really sponge this down so it bonds well, okay? You can see the overall finish there. It's gonna be not too bad. I am gonna try to clean up that edge with this cement as well. It's just gonna take a lot of tedious work. Now this is going to be like self-leveling and out of control. Okay. So I want to work it to the edge. And at the same time give it some resistance here. So that is setting up that quick. Chunk here. Get that out of my way. Okay, you see it's starting to is setting up here. There, now I've got the opportunity now where I can trowel this in. Oh, it's almost perfect, right? Now, just clean as you go. This kind of attention to detail is what's going to make or break this countertop job, so we can't afford to be lazy. Okay. So it takes a lot of the sanding work out. So we're just going to wet sponge this in a little bit. Now we got it filled. We're going to stop while we're ahead. I would rather do this 3 or 4 times until it's perfect than give a bad product to something I'm just not happy with. So there we go. Beautiful. I'm going to love that. This goes in the garbage. This is still running enough I can use it. I've done the ones behind me and I've done the island so far, but I've saved the one in the window so that we can get this on film. Can't have Max in the room filming this when we're actually sanding, but we can have him film through the glass, so that's what we're gonna do. Let's talk about tools first. This is called a cup grinding wheel, okay? It's basically a diamond tipped wheel, and it goes right on your grinder. They come in different sizes depending on your grinder size, and they just spin on once you get it where you want it. So you just hold down, get that on there nice and tight. After we've cup grinded, we're going to be using a regular orbital sander. This one has a dust collector and a filter, which is helpful. You have to empty this frequently, okay? So keep that in mind. And then we're using 40 grit sandpaper to start. We'll work our way down to 80, 120, and then 220 to finish. Of course, the secret when you're putting these on, line up the holes so that the vacuum part of this sander actually will work. It doesn't have to be perfect, just close so that the actual vacuum can suck the dust away. And of course, like I always use on my videos, safety glasses and a mask. God help us. If you are not wearing safety glasses and a mask for this, then you are crazy. This is one of these jobs where you need to have protection. This is going to be messy. I'm going to be using this water bottle to wet it down a little bit, but I don't want to do this soaking wet. I'm inside the house and everything within 20, 30 feet is going to be covered in wet blotches of cement if I don't do a dry grind. So what I can do is I can control the dust. So we set up a big plastic wall to separate this room from the rest of the house. And we also have our high power fan with our ductwork, and that's blowing out all kinds of air out of this area. And that creates a negative air pressure. So most of the dust that's going to be collected here will be evacuated out of that room within about 2 to 3 minutes. That means I've got about a 5 to 6 minute working time, and then I got to take a break and let all the dust get out of here. So it's a messy job. This is a really good mask. Just got a dent in the metal piece that goes around the nose to get a good snug fit. Now we're off to the races. So here we are, we got our negative air set up. This particular countertop, we mixed a little bit thicker than the last one. So it has the benefit of not having a lot of air bubbles, but it didn't flow as well, so it's gonna have a lot more grinding. So whatever you lose by making it thin, as far as making it settle easy, you get it to fix all the pinholes. And in this situation, if you make it nice and thick so you don't get all the air bubbles, then you gotta grind the hell out of it. Figure that one out. One of the reasons I love wearing masks, we want to clean up our edges and any of these bumps. We don't want to have to sand the ridge out, so we grind it out. You'd be surprised how fast this works and how fast it gets dirty. Here we go. There we go. Now the goal here is just take all the ridges off so that we can sand it. Mission accomplished. And we'll let the air clean up a little bit. I'll vacuum this off and then we'll get on with the sanding. Each level of grit that you use, you should move back and forth in opposite directions. So with the 40, I'm going to go opposite of the grinder. And then with the 80, I'll go opposite of the 40 and so on. This helps to guarantee you're not leaving a big groove somewhere in the ground here. Now you'll notice the kind of look that I'm going for here is very rustic. I am not trying to sand this down like it's wood. I'm not trying to make sure that there are no imperfections. I kind of want the imperfections. We just don't want to leave any sander marks. Just a couple passes with each type of paper does the job. All right, now. Here we go. I'm just going to wet down the counter now. So you can see that little bit of effort and how smooth that is now compared to the section here that we never did. I don't know if the camera picks that up. No? Okay. This is really rough. This is really smooth. Gives me a chance to have a look and see what it's going to look like when it's sealed. If I'm not happy with something, back to the drawing board. I can make a mark and go back and start cupping and grinding and sanding all over again if necessary. But just make sure you're going to be happy with your finished product before you seal it. I got a couple of low spots here that I want to actually go back to the 40 on and sand out. There you go. Slow and steady wins the race. Well, there we go. That's real dusty inside, so we're coming out here to sign off. If you're interested to see how that looks when it's all finished and sealed, then just wait a few weeks. We're going to have the project video come out, and all of the details on the sealing and what that looks like done will be in there. There'll be a link at the end of this video, I'm sure, to the project video, right, Max? We usually do that. Fantastic. And once again, of course, hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, you should, because the world is watching this channel. I don't know why they want to watch this channel, but they are, and you don't want to miss out. So hit the button and subscribe. We'll see you again next time. So the choice that we're using for sealing our countertop, it's Sealer's Choice Gold. This is a penetrating sealer. So if you're looking up at all your information online about concrete countertops, you'll see there's a lot of different options with sealing. I like this one because this is food grade. All right, so that means it means what it means. It's safe. No one's gonna get sick in this kitchen. So basically, your job is to just apply it and then remove it. That's how simple this is. So just pour on a little bit. Use your sponge and just wipe it in. Okay? And that's it. And then just remove the excess right away just by wiping across the surface. That's how you seal concrete countertops. If your sealer, if you don't like the way it looks or the way it feels, you want to add another coat, you can. But with penetrating sealer, generally 2 coats is all you're going to do. Don't fall like into those, some videos I've seen online that do 10 coats of sealer. That's a different kind of sealer. It's not a penetrating sealer. In that product, they're trying to get their finished result. What we're using for our finished result is just wax. All right, this is just a beeswax. It's for finishing concrete countertops. And we're just gonna dolly some out here on the counter. All right, I'll show you. Now, I like to use a grub float when I'm installing it. Get it nice and tight on there. Get that white film. Means you've got more than enough there, okay? And then just rub it off. There you go. Now your beeswax is on there. Just make sure you don't have any residues. Run a dry cloth over it. If you see any white spots like that, just buff it in a little bit. There we go. Beeswax applied. Now you're sealed, your finish is protected. You don't have to worry about coffee and red wine and all that sort of thing. This will take care of your countertop and protect it for years to come. Now the sealer itself is good for about 15. The beeswax is something you might want to apply every 6 months to a year, depending on the kind of use you get. So a jar like this runs about 20 bucks. I'm going to leave one behind for the client. And that's about all you need to know. All right, so thanks for joining us on our tour of how to make countertops. Remember, your upfront cost for materials isn't all that dramatic, but this is a blood, sweat, and tears kind of process. But if you love this kind of real earthy industrial look. This is a great alternative to natural stone. Remember, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we're full of crazy ideas on how to do things yourself and help you around your house. So hit the subscribe button below and like the video if you like it. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. See you next time, guys.